Welcome to MojoPlays, and today we're looking at the best remakes of horror games. Keep in mind, that means you won't find any remasters here, and we'll be playing a little fast and loose with the definition of horror.
What? Protocol. Hammond, people are dying here.
And I'm not losing anyone else.
But before we get into it, we publish new content all week long. So be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. System Shock. 1994's System Shock is a groundbreaking sci-fi horror game. It gifted the world an incredible AI villain in Shodan and influenced multiple franchises for years to come. Naturally, remaking something like that was going to be a tall order. Night Dive Studios did a pretty solid job updating visuals to perfectly match the atmosphere. Navigating the Citadel station while Shodan taunted you felt even more tense and lonesome this time around. Some felt it stuck too close to the original and that certain mechanics were outdated, which is fair. Regardless, it's still the definitive way to experience this classic. With a little bit of patience, players can still enjoy what made the original so iconic. Project 02 Wii Edition. Within the Fatal Frame series, the second game, Crimson Butterfly, is largely regarded as the best. In 2012, Tecmo Koei chose to remake it for the Wii. While that might give some players pause, the motion controls were actually very well implemented with the franchise's signature camera obscura mechanic. It also brought other quality-of-life improvements like updated graphics and the more modern over-the-shoulder camera angle. Plus, the story about a girl searching for her twin sister in a haunted town is timeless and just as spooky as it has always been. Although it's sadly never released in the US, players in Japan, Australia, and Europe got to experience a unique take on a horror masterpiece. Gabriel Knight, Sins of the Father's 20th Anniversary Edition.
If she's out here a lot, maybe she saw something or heard something.
Nah, nobody ever sees or hears nothing.
Although it's not a horror game in the traditional sense, the first game in the Gabriel Knight series, released in 1993, was the most fearsome point-and-click adventure of its time. It follows the titular would-be horror novelist as he becomes mixed up in occult murders occurring in New Orleans.
About Willie Jr., would you be willing to let him go?
Maybe. For $100.
It was praised for its strong character writing and eerie tone as Gabriel delved deeper into the mystery. For its 20th anniversary, designer, writer, and director Jane Jensen worked on a stellar remake. Along with improved visuals, fans were treated to remastered music, new vocal performances, some refreshed story beats, and some new puzzles. Players looking for an engaging supernatural thriller should definitely check it out.
I'm sorry, but there's no place for someone like you in my life. Not now, not ever.
Black Mesa. We know Half-Life is more of a sci-fi shooter, but then you come across things like head crabs, and the only thing we feel is pure fear. Calling Valve's first release a groundbreaker is honestly a disservice to it, as even that doesn't feel like enough praise. It's the type of game that, even decades old, doesn't feel like it needs a remake. Not only did we get a phenomenal one in 2020's Black Mesa, but it was from a third-party developer, Crowbar Collective, with the approval of Valve itself. That should tell you how good it is, but if you need more info, the updated enemy AI, new story elements, improved level design, and supreme graphical overhaul made it a must-play for fans of the original.
Judging by your hazard suit, I'd say you were part of what went wrong. Isn't that right?
Super Castlevania IV. Here's where we stretch the meaning of horror a bit. Castlevania has never been particularly scary, unless you count the constant threat of death from an overwhelming force of enemies, but the gothic horror elements have always been there. In 1991, Konami chose to reimagine the original story, about Simon Belmont storming the castle of Lord Dracula all by his lonesome. The move to 16-bit from the NES was actually quite the visual leap, and the new control scheme remains smooth to play to this day. It's now considered one of the best games in the series, as well as in the Super Nintendo's library. Konami also remade the first game an additional time with 2001's Castlevania Chronicles, though the fourth game has had a more enduring legacy. Resident Evil. Capcom is currently in the middle of remaking the Resident Evil series, which we'll get to later, but the studio first reimagined one of its beloved titles with a 2002 remake of the original. The team knocked it out of the park in every category. It looked incredible, and still does, and the controls were revamped to make things much smoother. Not only that, but players were treated to improved puzzles, new areas of the Spencer Mansion, and a subplot involving a new character, Lisa Trevor, that was cut from the original release. Capcom also rewrote the script and hired new voice actors to dial back the cheese factor. Really, there's no reason to go back to the first version other than nostalgia. Demon's Souls. Yeah, we're going to stretch the definition of horror once again, but we defy anyone to play through Demon's Souls without feeling an immense sense of dread and fear throughout. The 2009 original kicked off From Software's Souls-like genre. While it's known as a crushingly difficult fantasy action RPG, the setting of Boletaria is soaked in a chilling atmosphere, and the enemy designs can invoke genuine terror. Japan Studio and Blue Point Games developed an incredible remake as a PlayStation 5 launch title, and it's still one of the best games on the system. All of the right quality of life changes were made, from the visuals to the mechanics to the controls. Yet, it never lost the feeling of panic prevalent in the original. The Last of Us Part 1. Was it a necessary remake? No. But was it a good one? Hell yes. Chances are, if you're into horror, you've already played The Last of Us. It's an excellent examination of the depths humanity can stoop to during an apocalypse. And the infected, particularly the one-hit kill clickers and bloaters, can make your body tense up instantly. Naughty Dog remade the game for the PS5 in 2022, once again showing its expertise in the visuals department. But fans were also happy to find updated controls more in line with the second game, and stronger enemy AI, as well as more accessibility options in order to cater to every type of player.
Joel?
Behind you.
What?
Ellie.
Dead Space. The treatment of Dead Space will forever break our hearts. Not just because EA killed the original series and its developer, but because the incredible 2023 remake of the first reportedly didn't meet sales expectations. Motive Studio did everything right. The visuals brought every ounce of tension and suspense we felt from the first, and then some. And modern advancements meant no loading screens in between levels. There was a higher level of gore, and the protagonist, Isaac, was made more of a character with voice lines and reworked story elements. Our second journey through the Ishimura had us on pins and needles the entire time, and all we want is more. Resident Evil 4. Capcom is undeniably leading the charge in modern horror remakes with the Resident Evil series. However, since the fourth mainline entry is still one of the best in the franchise, its remake is the one we'll talk about today. 2023's Resident Evil 4 somehow surpassed the quality of the original.
Jesus Christ!
It obviously looks remarkable, but there were plenty of other refreshes to make it the definitive experience. Ashley in particular is far less problematic, both in her characterization and in her AI. It also came with a variety of different control schemes for all types of players. Most importantly, the mechanics were improved for the modern day, and taking Leon through Gothic Spain has never been better, despite multiple versions of RE4 already existing. What's a classic horror game you'd like to see remade? Share your thoughts in the comments, and be sure to subscribe to MojoPlays for more great gaming videos every day.